So Conquer Earth is something that has been a passion project of mine. And it started with Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century, which is right there on one of my all-time favorite animated films and my all-time favorite Chuck films to boot. And the question being at the end, you know, that for one, when you Illudium Fosdex, you know, what the heck is that? The shaving cream atom, like the things that they come up with and why mutually assured destruction of Planet X didn't work out so well. What happens after that? Like, why was Marvin there looking for the shaving cream atom? What did that have to do with anything? There's got to be more to that story. Did he just show up? Was he claiming it from Mars? Why Planet X? Why wasn't it Planet D? You know? And so when I was thinking about this, I had done a couple of sketches and I had a Steampunk Marvin piece because I think his style kind of lends itself to certain things. And one of them being steampunk, another one being a Star Wars crossover with Boba Fett. And there was something in the steampunk thing which kind of took off. People really enjoyed it. And then I did a sketch 2 years ago, I think it was, for Marvin Madness that they pulled off, or maybe it was last year. And it was Marvin in his steampunk, and then K9 in his steampunk attire with this dirigible steampunk spaceship thing in the background. And as I did that piece, I was like, man, you know, like there's something more here. Like the story just kind of kept chirping at me, like, what about Planet A? What about Planet M? Like, what is it in these things? Like, why would it? What the shaving cream atom? What happens with that? Does he need that? Does he need to shave? Does he get super hairy? I don't know. And then I did another sketch for the same Marvin Madness piece or the event, and it was Marvin at the desk of his spaceship, and he's got scattered over there like Planet N, Planet whatever. There's a few, and you can see a bunch of cards. Like he's doing his research on these planets, and then on a screen is Duck Dodgers claiming Planet D, and the name of the piece was called Claiming Planet D, and he's just pissed. He's like, he's doing it again. He's doing it again. Like I'm out to do this. So because Dodgers comes from Earth, right? He's going to conquer Earth. He's just going to go to the source and he's going to take care of things because he needs to run the whole thing. There was a whole scheme and a plan, right? Shaving cream was going to be his empire, believe it or not. So the Martians get super hairy, super fast. And that black dot that he's got needs a Bic razor, you know, constantly. Well, there's no more shaving cream. So Marvin's going to get a little hairy, and he's and of course so angry. And so his quest to conquer Earth is to kind of right the wrongs of what Dodgers did in thwarting him and to take over this thing. Because if he can't take it over using shaving cream in this empire, then you better darn well bet that he's going to take it over using all these other elements from planets A through Z, because they've all got something. And there will be a revisit to Planet X because there's one little bit left behind. And by the time he gets there, I don't even know if he's going to be able to see with the hair over his eyes. So as I went through with the series, I pitched it and I said, okay, it's kind of extensive. I want to do these planet covers, like a snapshot of like what is going on the planet, what they're trying to do, how they're being thwarted. And really it spans across 7 characters, because Marvin isn't just doing this on his own. He needs more firepower. And if he's going to combat this. So in the dream team of evil genius, you've got Marvin, you need a loyal sidekick. You need someone who's going to be there with you, getting whatever, the gopher, right? That's K9. You need someone who can ingeniously think up inventions, and in order to capture what they need to do to build these things, there's only one, that's Wily. And then you need the muscle. Like sometimes you just need dudes who are big and strong to move stuff around. So you've got Gossamer. Those 4, right, make up the dream team of deviousness. And then I used characters, and they've all kind of interacted with each other. So at any point, all these 7 characters in different films have interacted. So on the dream team, on the other side, for the winning guys, is obviously Duck Dodgers. And then you've got Cadet, and then you've got Bugs. So these 3 are there to make sure, like, as they're finding things out, because as Cadet so obviously pointed out, why don't you just follow the letters instead of this giant map of things? They're like, we're going to go after, we figured out what he's doing. We're going to thwart all this stuff. So it's everyone, they've got a mix of characters on every cover. There might be 3, there might be 4, there might be 5. It depends. We've got everything from a pop rocks element, right, to what am I working on now? I've got Jello. I've got, because Jello, you can do anything with Jello. Good night. A liquid to a solid. What can you do with that when it cools off? Oh my. And then I'm not supposed to show this, and it's a blue line sketch anyway, so it's super, super light. But we've got, on this planet, we've got those bubbles that are thicker on the out, like, so there's something that you can trap in. And what I love about everything that I'm playing with, it's something that is applicable to my own life. All these things have little pieces of whatever it is from my own life in these elements that move forward. And it's based on Chuck's inspiration of the Illudium Fosdex shaving cream atom. So by the time we get to the end, they built this machine. It's not everything that they wanted it to be, because they didn't get everything, because they were thwarted on some stuff, but they're going to go after and conquer Earth. And this last kind of setup on scene after Planet Z is, in Wiley's ingenious, he built this facial recognition software, right? So all Marvin has to do is hit the button, zzz, off it goes. Well, that was done when he was a clean-shaven Martian. He's not going to be clean-shaven at the end. And in true Acme fashion, what is it that undoes the guys that try to use the Acme products? It's not the Acme product, right? It's their use of the Acme product, or their inept use. So this finalizes the inept use of this Acme thing that they put together with all these elements and particles. And it concludes in 26 covers. There's going to be 7 skate decks, so 1 for each character. There's 1 painting at least that I'm going to do at the end. And then there's going to be this book. So it's kind of like an art, but it's a storybook. So there's a storyline to all this. It's going to contain all of the covers. It's going to contain concept sketches and little like layouts and thumbnails, along with what the planet is, what's going on, and why they need to pull it off. And essentially, you're kind of reading this story as it goes from beginning to end. It's an insane project. My name's Ben Olson. I'm an artist with the Chuck Jones Gallery, and I have created the Conquer Earth series, a steampunk Marvin the Martian journey, going from Planet A to Z and what happens after the debacle in Planet X from Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century. You want to learn more about what's going into this? Check this video out. So the Conquer Earth series is something, that brainchild that came out of what happens after Planet X gets blown to smithereens. And why was Marvin there searching for the shaving cream atom? What does that have to do with anything? I have no idea, except for that piqued my curiosity. So in going through this, and when, Daffy's trying to make a map of where to get this, and it's this convoluted, squiggly lines. And then, of course, Cadet in his logical sensibility just says, why don't you just follow the letters, right? Oh, right. So, well, what's on the other planets? So in pitching this to Chuck Jones Gallery, I said, I had this storyline, and it involves these pieces, and they visit each planet because Marvin wants revenge on planet Earth, which is where Duck Dodgers comes from. And what are they trying to grab on each planet? If X has the shaving cream atom, what does everybody else have? So we went through and started with Planet A, right, which is the Pop Mentos particle. This comes from my oldest son's love of chemistry stuff and experimenting. When you're doing experimental stuff in junior high, what are you doing? Diet Coke and Mentos, right? What happens in the explosion off that, like this catalyst, what would you use it for? Maybe propulsion in space. So they go to this planet, and it's got these like rock soda bottle kind of formations out of which pours grape soda, because one of our favorites is Sunkissed grape soda, or Crush or Sunkissed. I'll give it to either one. But anyway, so these fountains of grape soda come out, and these Pop Mentos particles just kind of grow on these trees. And that's why Planet A is that he's going after that, is this whole propulsion mechanism. Well, Daffy, Duck Dodgers, is going to thwart that by stealing the canister, because you have to put them in the canisters, and then you've got K9 bottling the grape soda so that you can have that mixture. So it was something funny to me. It was something based off my son, myself, that whole love of just watching stuff explode with stuff around the house. Then you get to Planet B. Planet B is the liquid fire molecule. This is very much based on my wife's I'm not going to say desire, but my wife's what's the right word? She tried to kill me. Let me just put it that way. She tried to kill me with my neighbor's cooking and giving him these Hungarian peppers. Now, we didn't know how hot these Hungarian peppers were. It just kind of looked cool at the Home Depot when we were looking for plants. And so she grew these things. The oranger they get, the hotter they get, and they're tiny. They don't, that no way could that take you down. Let me tell you right now, that is a hot pepper. So my neighbor, we're all picking vegetables, and we give over. My neighbors can come over and pick because we had too many. And so he makes this ratatouille, which is delicious, absolutely delicious. He made a regular one and a hot one. I tried the spicy one because he used these peppers. He didn't even know how hot these were. I'm telling you right now, my eyeballs sweat. It was not tears, okay? It was sweat everywhere. And I swear I was going to die. So that was my wife's attempt to kill me through my neighbor's cooking in the peppers from our garden. And liquid fire, you could use anything. So they're bottling it, right? You bottle that sucker. And Wiley's there trying to hit the go button because in comes, if you're going to fight super spicy stuff, what do you need? You need milk, which is why Bugs is throwing a 2% milk bomb, and it's got little udders on the top. And then you need Pepto-Bismol. And Daffy's Duck Dodgers is coming right in with the Pepto cannon. So that's planet B. Then we get to planet C, which is the dry ice elements, right? It's this ice planet kind of thing like Hoth from Star Wars. And they're centered around these little bars. So Planet C could very well be called the cocktail planet. And in that, we've got Chuck's portrait up there as an homage to Chuck, because this is based on his 2 martini lunches that he would have. And Cadet, in his infinite wisdom, right, and slyness, he just has a blonde wig on, right? You can see the blonde, and he's pouring drinks for all the guys, and they're getting hammered. And Wile Coyote Ito is on the counter, and this was based off of the story that Willie Ito tells, who was an animator in Chuck's unit, when he went out for the first 2 martini lunch, and I guess he wasn't ready for it, and he was just hammered and passed out in Chuck's office. It's a hilarious story, which is why he's passed out on the bar. So Cadet is just getting them plastered because they're gonna, once he gets them all drunk, he can then take all the stuff that they've got. Not too bad. We get to Planet D. Planet D is the Helios Havonium atom, and which is lead balloons. And so you're in this floating rock, kind of think a little bit inspired by Avatar and the whole floating rock formations. I was always fascinated with that when that movie came out. I'm like, that would be really cool to see in person. So you harvest these lead balloons, and in order to take them off, because you can like core it out a little bit, and you need bomb casings. Lead balloons are going to be bomb casings. So as Marvin is kind of harnessing these things out, you've got Cadet over there with the Acme jet blower, just blowing them right off the cliff, and then Dodgers is going to snip the cord. You get to Planet E. Now, I know it doesn't show anymore, but at one time I had glorious hair, glorious long hair. And Aquanet, right, in the 80s, the hairspray, I didn't use it because my hair wasn't as glorious yet in the 80s. It took a little while. But the 80s to me in Aquanet was always this thing of like your hair, just big poofy hairstyles that were solid as rocks, right? The ultimate adhesion mechanism. So they go off to Planet E to grab this because you need something to like seal things, lock it in, right? This was before Flex Seal came out. You use Aquanet. So they grow in these canisters, like these rock canisters, and that's where all the fluid comes from. And they've got these little tufts of hair comb plants that grow on this planet for Planet E, and the Aquanetium atom is what this one is. And because Marvin is trying to figure out how to get this stuff out, he hits the button, which sprays, right? And so like Gossamer, who was all hair, is just blown back, stuck in a thing. Marvin's brush all stuck. The easiest way to get that, Bugs just comes right in with his pick comb. It's not going to go through anything. It's going to stick, and off he goes. He can thwart the theft right there. And then we get to Planet F. So lightning bugs. We have a huge fascination with lightning bugs, and had them up in Illinois. Have a ton of them down here. And my kids, even when I was a kid, we would catch them. We'd go up to our cabin up in Upper Michigan, and you catch them, you put them in the pickle jar, you punch a little bunch of holes in the top, put some grass in. They light up, release them a day later, catch some more. So my childhood of collecting lightning bugs and being so fascinated with these things, I was like little lanterns. You make these little natural lanterns, and you release them, you catch more. And then my kids taking that on as well, and having that fascination. So sharing that moment. Well, in Marvin's quest, for illumination, as he goes to like swipe these little things, he ends up, there's a mama. There's a mama bug for sure, and not too thrilled about that. So Duck Dodgers is coming in riding hardcore, and he's gonna go rodeo style and rope these guys out and catch them before they make it out with everything. They make it out with one, but Wiley doesn't make it out with his. We go to Planet G, which is what did I call this one? Glucose. Man, what was the element? It was glucose. There's an actual technical name for it. It's basically chewing gum, right? And I don't know how many times you've stepped on chewing gum when it's been on a hot surface. I stepped on it far more times than I can count. My kids love gum. I used to chew Bubblicious when I was a kid, all of that stuff. But man, this comes off my frustration with I always seem to find it. Always see. I don't care where it is. We could be at a random place. I'll end up stepping on this stuff, and it just gets stuck everywhere. I've had it stuck in my hair, my kids' hair, all that kind of stuff. So in this, you would take this obviously chewing gum and kind of think of. It brought me back to Jurassic Park Lost World, where she needs like something to stick. They kind of use these in a bunch of films, but we like watching Jurassic Park Lost World. And so they're fixing the little baby T-Rexes, Stint or Splint, and she uses the chewing gum. So this comes from that, and it grows on little balloons, and they have these sticks. Zebra Stripe was a favorite. Zebra Stripe has always been a favorite. It's colorful, it's chewy, the flavor lasts for about 5 minutes and then it's gone. So what? You pop another stick in. So it grows on these little bubbles, right, which kind of blow up, and then off that grows the little Zebra Stripe chewing gum piece, falls to the ground, comes up as a bubble, and it just kind of keeps repeating itself. Well, how are you going to defeat that? Well, you bring in the chattering teeth that are on rockets, and you just start chewing all this stuff up. Falls to the ground, these guys start stepping in it, done. Planet H. So this is horseshoe magnets, right? Attractium is what it is. You footer on attractium, horseshoe magnet. And there's so many applications for this. We would play with magnets. My oldest son loved playing with these things and how you could levitate coins and do all kinds of stuff. He would have these magnet rocks. You got them for like $5 at some gift store somewhere, right? And see, my dogs are agreeing. And they would take these magnet rocks you get in a little bag, and he would bring these things everywhere. And I mean everywhere. We'd be sitting in church service or whatnot. You hear this clink, 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 clink. What is that? That's Aiden's magnet rocks. So this is based off very much my oldest son, Aiden, and his infatuation with magnet rocks. And obviously, as Marvin's going down, Wiley has this Acme steel beam that he's brought in, because you're just going to go on there. They grow on these little bushes, and the magnets get a little bit bigger. And then once they become to maturity, they polarize, right? And you can pluck them. Well, he comes down with the steel beam because they're just going to walk right over and pick them all up. But what they fail to see is that in these horseshoe magnets, Bugs is very easily able to just start launching these things up and catch them by the wrist, which is why they are now stuck to the beam. So you footer on attractium. We go to Planet I. Here is my love of Marvel, in which I have one more cover that I've done also as a Marvel homage, but this is my love of the Hulk. And Iradium is, these Iradium gamma grapes is what Planet I is. And they figure, well, they don't exactly know. Marvin doesn't exactly know what these things do. He just knows that it can make you stronger, bigger, faster. There's something to these. Well, in their quest to pluck these things, they accidentally, Cadet's the main one going into thwart. He ends up catching some of it in his mouth, and then turns into the pork. We'll just call him the pork. And he goes for full-on pork smash and just starts pounding. Well, they had no idea that this is what the end result would be. And they're freaked out. K9's doing his best to, pull him back. But we were going full-on pork smash. Porky Cadet as the Hulk, just taking it to him. And they grow on these giant vines, with these little grapes that come in. And it's a pretty desolate planet, other than these grapes. And that's it. They always grow, but you can kind of see little moons and stuff in the back. And I love the Hulk, and I love this whole pork smash thing. Just seemed to make absolute sense. So Iradium, the gamma grapes. And then we've got Planet J. No, did we skip? No, we didn't. HIJ. Look at that. I know my alphabet. Planet J, which is the invisibility fibers. So when I was a kid, right, and I watched my kids do that, you hide under a blanket, right? And that you were invisible. Doesn't matter if your feet are popping out or whatever. It doesn't matter. As long as your head was covered, you were invisible. Nobody could see you. You did it as a kid. You did it as, when you're playing with your kids. It's just that kind of childhood, like you can't see me anymore. And that comes from my childhood. And then, of course, you get into Harry Potter and they have the cloak of invisibility and all this kind of stuff. So I'm like, I would want to go to a planet where they have these invisible cotton fibers. Now you have the plant, but you don't see the little thing really on it. And you pluck this stuff and then you can create. So Marvin's kind of stretching this stuff out and finding out that stuff's invisible behind it. Well, in this machine, and it's based off the cotton gin, which is why I have the Eli Whitney, what did I call the EW 1794 CG or something like that, which is when the Eli Whitney patented the cotton gin. And so he's built this steampunk style machine that's picking up these fibers. Well, it funnels them into these kind of like crates, if you will, and then for pickup. Well, how do you know how much you have if they're invisible fibers? So in the slyness of it all, in these little plants that are around, Bugs and Daffy have cloaked themselves in this. You just see their faces, and they're just kind of pushing the stuff away. So all the stuff's coming down, and they're taking off with it. How do you really know how much you have? They don't yet, and they'll find out that all of it, just because they can't see it, means it's actually gone. Planet K. Bubbles are a thing. Bubbles are a thing with my little ones. Bubbles are a thing still with my older ones. Bubbles are a thing with me. You go to Disney or whatever theme park, they got the bubble wands, bubbles, 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 bubbles everywhere. And then they had the bubbles back up when we were in Illinois. You could blow bubbles, and if it was really cold outside, sometimes they'd freeze, or those bubbles that they have that have, I don't know how they do it, but whatever that formula is, and you can like put something in and it kind of keeps it inside. And so that fascinated me on this. And my kids, specifically my younger ones today too, they're all into the bubble wands, the bubble cannon, the thing that shoots a billion zillion bubbles. Well, what if there was a planet that this liquid kind of formulated on, right? Bubblinium. And what happened was in these rock formations with these clear centers, so you could actually see the liquid, they form. And the way it does is on some of them, you would have a hatch, just like a bottle, and it would come down, the liquid seals in, it pops back open, and then there's this little plant that turns on like a fan and blows the bubble up, and then it pops and up it goes again. And then you would have these other structures that are bubble wands, right? And in these bubble wands, the liquid kind of comes in, it seals all the way around, the wind comes in and creates another bubble. Well, if they can harness this kind of thing, they can transport stuff, they can seal things. Maybe they can go into an environment where, for breathing and stuff like that, create a little mini atmosphere. So as they're trying this, they end up falling prey to like the bubble things where they get sucked in, and you can see Wiley, how he ends up getting into a bubble. Well, what's as much fun as blowing bubbles? Catching them again. And you would catch them on the stick. So my kids go around, they try to catch them on the stick. So naturally, if you got these guys floating around, you would have these little bubble wand sticks that you go in, which is what Dodgers and Bugs are in, and they go in and just pluck them out. Planet L is rubberonium. And my kids took all my rubber band balls. Look at that. I had rubber band balls for it, and they took off and played with them. So rubber band balls have always been a fascination. I've had one for like 20 years, and I haven't unwound the whole thing. Every once in a while, a rubber band would come off. But they always I'm like, how do you make those suckers? Now, I'm sure there's a YouTube video up that I could watch or something, but rubber band balls I love them. I don't use them for the actual rubber bands. I use them to bounce all over everything. So what if, and in my love of Raiders of the Lost Ark, we had like a kind of a theme in there where, how do you do this? Well, you grow rubber band balls naturally. So there's these rubber plants, which in Planet L, you'll see what the rubber plants actually look like. And on these leaves, they have like the center vine to them, and it's a different color. So once that falls to the ground, it'll pop seed, and then it starts to grow this bushel of leaves that, like a cabbage in the middle, grows the rubber band ball. The dominant color being whatever that line was, that vein that runs through it. Well, Bugs and Cadet are in, and they're picking these things up, right? They've got this giant net. They're picking up all the rubber band balls. But Gossamer, Canine, and Marvin are going after the big one, right? Let's get the big one. Why would we waste time plucking a bunch of little ones? And in this planet, they have these like cacti, right? And they grow like a slingshot. And so transport-wise, you hook a rubber band, like that's how you launch things across this planet. It's like a transportation system. Well, they inadvertently end up tripping whatever cord this thing is, and the rubber band ball is coming at them like Indiana Jones and the Raiders of the Lost Ark and the whole boulder scene. And they're going to get run over. And it's my love of Raiders plus my love of rubber band balls all in one planet. When we go to Planet M, Jello is delicious. There's always room for Jello. And when we would go to family functions, and I don't know about you, but there's always Jello. Usually there's stuff inside the Jello. And I'd eat the regular Jello, but the foamy Jello and the whatever Jello, I kind of skipped on that. And then, of course, they come out with Jello jigglers, which again is just a marketing thing because it's Jello, but you can hold it and wiggle the little characters. So Jello to me had these properties in it that you could insulate stuff, you could cushion things, you could seal stuff. There's all kinds of things that you could do with Jello. And this idea that it starts with a liquid, so you could pour a bunch of stuff in it and then have it solidify, right? Depending on what you want to release, hence the Jello salad Jello mold, or you're just putting in Jello. So I have these Jello mold contraptions that are coming down and they suck the liquid out of these things that look like pots, because they have like a rock structure with a handle on it, because you obviously boil water, put in the gelatin, put it in the thing. And then in the background are these boxes, right? These box-like structures that are mountains, which is kind of where some of the powder and stuff comes from. And it kind of filters down in the system and then comes up through these pot-like stovetop pot style containers. And there's a circle, like there's a hole cut out in each one. So each mountain as it grows has this kind of hole in the middle, because Jello never fills you up. There's all, you could just keep eating more of this stuff. So Bugs is in, and then Bugs is coming in with a fork. K9 is coming in with a spoon to get Marvin out of this Jello mold. And which do you eat? Do you eat it with a fork or a spoon? I sometimes eat it with a fork, depending on what it is, or I'll eat it with a spoon. So the controversy will do what it will. What do you want, fork or spoon? It's up to you. But Planet M is the gelatin atom. We go to Planet N. Planet N, Pop Rocks. Like, I eat them as an adult. I ate them as a kid. All the glowing neon flavors and colors and all that kind of good stuff. And you combine it with soda and it gets even louder. Pop Rocks is something as a candy that I loved as a kid. My kids love as a kid. I still love as an adult. Well, it's that idea of like bursts of explosion. What could you use that for? You could use it for all kinds of stuff. And when they land on this, they have these conveyor belt of containers that they're kind of rolling through to mine this stuff, because the rocks just kind of grow in clusters on this planet. And they don't exactly know what it is. So, which is why you have these little robots that are going in, they're collecting them and they're putting them in like samples in a bag. And then you've got the bigger containers that are shipping them. Well, Marvin is just kind of dabbing some liquid over the top, like some water, over a bigger rocks. Gossamer's not quite sure, so he's got the little pinchers out. They're going to see what happens when you add liquid to this stuff. Well, over the top, they can't see Daffy pouring the bucket of water, because you can have a little explosion on a pop rock, or you can have a giant explosion. It's probably going to turn out like the latter. And then Planet O. Planet O is Planet Me. Planet O is Olson. Planet O is, that's, my letter, my name. We got Thor, Planet Thor. And it's this whole idea of electrica, right? Like, you need to harness electricity. So if you're going to do that, what do you need? Naturally, you need Mjolnir and Thor's hammer. So I'm going to, there it is. Yes, Thor's hammer. And this is no joke. And very heavy. So if I'm gonna go ahead and harness this stuff, I need Mjolnir. I need to be worthy of that. And in this planet, if you're worthy, right, you can actually absorb it in the hammer and you can fly, just like Thor. If you're not worthy, you can still pick up the hammer, but you get electrocuted. So in this scene of this galactic universe, which is why we have like the nebula in the background, in this kind of space style horizon coming over, and you've got handles, so rock formations in the form of handles and in the form of like Thor helmets, and in the rocks you have these veins of like electric blue, because there's electricity kind of flowing through those. And how the hammers come to existence is lightning hits the ground and hits certain spots, and there's a little like kind of chemical element in there, and up pops it births this little hammer. That's the only way it happens. Right, and it doesn't happen often, but they come in short bursts, and then there's a ton of hammers, and then it's it goes away for a long time. Well, Wiley and Marvin clearly are not worthy. They pick up the hammers, they get electrocuted. Dodgers, Cadet, and Bugs pick up the hammers, harness the electricity, and they take off and fly. So needless to say, Marvin, Wiley, none of those guys are going to make it off planet with a Mjolnir, if you will, because none of them are worthy. So I've got 4 hammers in there that are hitting the ground and birthing themselves. Those are for my kids. And the rest is, all of us ascending into, as we take off and use the power of Thor. So that currently is where we're up to in the Planet series up through O. All of this is exclusively available with the Chuck Jones Gallery. So everything that's created for this, all of it, whether you have a consultant, if you're looking to reach out, chuckjonescatalog.com. It has the Conquer Earth series. It's its own little section on there. And that's where you can view and partake in anything. They've got 2 different sets. So all of them are in limiteds as well. And there's a paper version of one. So you can get a planet size in this, or right over there is the canvas size of the limiteds, which are full size on 12 by 18s. Whereas these guys right here, I believe, are 10 or 8 by 10, I think is what they are. So there's different ways to collect, whether it's an original or maybe you want your initials or something and you collect them in the limited after the fact. And by the way, there's one additional thing. So on the canvas, on the giclées of the covers, which the color jumps, I'm stoked about how these turned out. If you get one of the canvas size, which again is real size to the actual production, the originals that I did, on the back is a full-size character. So I sketch on the back of all of them a full-size character. Right now it's Marvin, as we do a Steampunk Marvin, but there's an original sketch on the back of every single giclée version of the planet covers. If you're geeking out on any of this stuff, which I geek out on, and it's something that you want to pick up, I will tell you that originals go like that. So the originals are you're fast on the hit. Usually people are wanting their initials or something like that, a letter that's dear to them, or maybe it's a subject matter. So if you're looking for that, get a hold of your consultant before as things start to launch. And then the limiteds for both go fast as well. So it's kind of one of those things that if you find the letter combinations that you like, or something that appeals to you, hop on it with the gallery. And that's all at chuckjonescatalog.com, that you can see all of the current releases, and then get a hold of your consultants, as they will be able to help fulfill that for you. And then all the little perks and stuff that come with it. And again, my name is Ben Olson. I am an artist with the Chuck Jones Gallery. I am a fellow nerd and purveyor of all these wonderful things Chuck Jones, and just so grateful to be a part of this whole show. I'd say that it's probably, this project has pushed me to write more things, right? Everything's intentional. And when you're doing a piece and, say you're doing a painting of something, or maybe you have a series of a couple of, scenes or something that you're putting together and they have a meaning, to do 26 plus all the stuff that goes along with it has been an absolute blast, and creatively pushed me into thinking bigger on something and how to wrap a storyline around. And which is why I'm stoked about this. For one, that the gallery's letting me do it. And when I pitched it, they weren't like, "You're insane, and maybe we should wait till later," but just, yes, that sounds hilarious. We're not quite, how's that going to come out? And then when I show, like a little bit more of the progress, they're like, but they bought in from the beginning, which is why I got the chance to do it. So I'm stoked about this. As each cover comes out, there's influences from comics. So like different comic covers, different, layout styles. I've got a Hulk reference in the Planet Eye. There's a Thor reference coming up in a planet that might have one of my initials in it, stuff like that. So I'm stoked to be able to pour myself into this series and then watch how it comes out. And I've loved everybody's reaction to this. There's custom pins that go along. So in a part of not only collecting the pieces, depending on which you get, an original, a limited, whether it's the giclée or the limited edition print, I did pins of all the hats and helmets. So there's one, I've got canines over here too, all 7. So all 7 come in a pin, right? And the collector pins are available with the Conquer Earth series. So anybody that picks up depending on which kind they pick up. There's how many pins do you get with one, choose your own pins kind of stuff. And I love pins. I love collector pins. I'll put them everywhere, right? So I wanted to do something as a fan myself of doing these things. That like, what would I want if I got something like this? If there was a series like, what would I want? I want a pin. That's cool to me. And the reaction I've gotten from people is phenomenal. So collector pins, collector things, this whole idea of this art of book afterwards. And then I do believe that the paper versions of these, when you get these there's a collector box we're working on and how that comes together in a portfolio. So that's exciting as well.